Well, hello, listeners. Happy New Year, and welcome to a brand new year of Never Seen It. I am your host, Betsy, and with me, my co-host, my husband, the one and only Trent.
New and improved for 2025.
Newly improved. You can't be new and improved. That's
Just
two
watch
different
me.
things.
Just watch me.
We are on our journey right now of watching the movies from 2024 that we have not yet watched, that we are guessing are going to be nominated for Best Picture come the 17th of January when those nominations come out. And we're doing this because Betsy has overcommitted her life to too many activities, and, you know, we have to get ahead sometimes. That's how the sausage gets made.
Betsy has a life outside of podcasting.
I do.
I keep saying it, but I don't know if I believe it.
So today we are going to be watching the movie that, let's be honest, has not been high on Trent's priority list.
I'm shaking my head furiously.
And maybe a few months ago wouldn't be in this conversation, but the winds are blowing from the east where the Wicked Witches live. Because today we are watching Wicked, formerly Part 1. I guess it's just called Wicked now.
It's just Wicked now. Just like we were talking before we started recording. It was Dune, but then they retcon it to Dune Part 1. In the actual movie itself, it says Part 1, but everybody just refers to it as Dune, but then there's Part 2. And Betsy, I'm not really jazzed about Wicked.
Why not, Trent? What do you know about Wicked?
It's a musical that it's based on The Wizard of Oz. Why the fuck did anybody make anything about The Wizard of Oz that isn't The Wizard of Oz? Why? That's all. No, okay. So I don't know anything about the musical, the actual Broadway musical this is based on, other than, hey, it's the witches from Wizard of Oz when they're younger, and this, it seems like whoever wrote the musical, whoever wrote the story, I don't know whether or not they took it from any of the, is it L. Frank Baum? Is that
Yes.
the author?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if it's actually based on any of his works or if this is just completely extrapolated and original.
I think the best way to describe this to you who does not know the musical is it's based on another book, which is kind of prequel fan fiction of The Wizard of
God.
Oz. So it's the two witches that we meet in The Wizard of Oz, but pre The Wizard of Oz.
Is this some Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey shit?
I don't think so. I think
I'm not
it's,
saying content, but like how they get there.
it's just more expanding the universe. It's like, how did the Wicked Witch
It's
become
an
wicked?
unauthorized expansion, sequel,
Basically.
prequel thing.
Kind of. And then they took
okay.
that book and they turned it into the musical. Now, I don't expect you to know all this because it's not that you dislike musicals, but you
No.
certainly don't spend a lot of time and energy investing into musicals.
Betsy, I'm going to give our listeners just a taste, a tidbit of what I'm all about, or maybe what I'm not all about. I do not like happy, bubbly, pink and pretty, all of that shit. I can't stand that. So a Broadway musical that's all about that, or even like a character that is all about that, I'm not all about it.
Because you know that there is somebody that is pink and bubbly in this musical.
Yeah, and I know that the original witch on Broadway was Kristen Chenoweth, and I'm sorry, but she kind of just rubs me the wrong way because she just kind of is that person.
She's too much for you.
Yeah.
You want to listen to your angry rock music.
Sure.
And be a happy boy. Well, Trent, I don't expect that you have seen this musical, but it may come as a shock to our listeners if they know anything about me, who loves a musical. I've never seen Wicked. Because I live in the part of the country where Wicked doesn't perform. And I have never been that invested in listening to musicals before I've seen them. There's a whole culture of people that just listen to Broadway soundtracks and they don't give a shit if they've ever seen the musical. They just like the music.
However, you have listened to this soundtrack many, many times, I understand.
No. I have listened to the soundtrack all the way through probably one time in college, and it did not connect with me.
Okay.
I'm going to just get this all out of the
Color
way
me corrected.
in the intro so that everybody can set their judgments of me aside if you're here for the Broadway musical that you've loved for 20 years.
But you love musicals and you love this world and everything about it.
I have just come to the conclusion off of that minimal time I spent listening to it. It didn't connect with me. I think it's one that the visuals help. Like, so much of the Broadway show is spectacle. And if I had watched the musical with the spectacle and the songs, it maybe would connect. So I'm much more hopeful for the movie because I'm going to get that. I'm going to get visual associated with the songs. Now, we're only getting half of the musical. That is the thing we all need to remember here. This is part one because this is basically the first act. This is Act 1 of Wicked. I know enough about the musical, and I've been online the last 2 months that this movie has been out, that I'm kind of aware of what to expect in the first half. How it compares to the actual stage musical as far as like flow, if they changed things, I don't have a fucking clue.
And that's not what this show is going to be about.
No, this is about the movie. And I think it's one of those that people were really, really worried about because this is so special and so important a musical to a lot of people that it had to be good. It took 20 years to get this fucking movie off the ground, and we still have to wait another year till we get part 2. But by all accounts, people are very excited about this. So I think you and I are coming at this from a very different place. I'm frankly in the last few months just being inundated with Wicked. So I still, like you, have a little bit of hesitation about going to see this because it's kind of pissing me off.
Yeah.
Being shown stuff about Wicked for the last 2 months.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong here. I'm not shitting on it just because, it's going to be terrible. Of course not. It's not going to be terrible. It's just usually not my cup of tea, but I always go into a movie, even though it's a movie that I wouldn't normally go and see. I have been surprised by movies like this in the past, and I am fully prepared to love it or hate it.
There's a thing going around online where they film people before they go see Wicked, and then they go see, and then record them after they've watched Wicked. And that's basically what this is about to be, everybody. So
it's just a lot longer.
It's just a lot longer. So here is us before Wicked. We're going to go to the theater. We're going to watch Wicked Part 1, and we will be right back. And we're back. So first things first, if you notice that I sound a little different, it's because sometimes we record things in the past and then time passes and Betsy gets a cold.
Through the power of podcasting, hey, guess what? We're sick.
So you get to deal with that. So sorry, listeners. But yes, we are back from the movie theater. We just saw Wicked. And Trent, we were in that intro, I would say, a little cynical, a little wary of the movie.
Definitely me more than you.
So that being said, what did you think of Wicked?
That was fun.
You had
Honestly,
a good time?
I had a really good time watching this. And thankfully, not that there's a whole lot of connective tissue here, but thankfully, I had the idea, okay, let's sit down and watch The Wizard of Oz, because the original Wizard of Oz is not a movie that was on a lot in my youth. I was very much aware of it. I saw it when I was a kid. I've seen it as an adult, but not to the extent that you really watched it when you were a kid, I'm sure.
No, The Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie when I was 5 years old.
Right, because of course it is. Because of course it is. So I wanted at least the refresher here for, okay, what here can they pull out from the movie and have it be for people like me who know nothing about the original stage musical. Now, you knew all the stuff that we talked about in the intro as far as you've heard the music before. You kind of know the beats of what's going to happen here. It is the origin story of these witches and how they knew each other and how they came to be. What I did not expect, which was a really happy surprise for me, is that we got basically the follow-up here of the original Wizard of Oz, down to the fact that the four friends are on the yellow brick road going back to the Emerald City. Holy shit, that was amazing.
Yeah, so the movie / the musical Wicked starts at the end, where it's Dorothy has just killed the witch.
Yeah.
And then it's all flashback. Glinda's talking about, oh yes, she knew the Wicked Witch.
It's a huge celebration. The Wicked Witch of the West is dead. However, there's this knowing look that I noticed on the face of Ariana Grande, showing me that there's some apprehension here. She cannot be that super happy about it because she knew her in her previous life before she was the Wicked Witch.
There's more to the story.
Yeah.
And yes, I will give you that. There is, knowing as the audience that she knows more, you're watching her in a very specific way.
And I watched The Wizard of Oz the other day trying to see, okay, is there anything that they can extract from their interactions here? Because I know that the musical is about these two witches, okay? And when they're talking about the ruby slippers in Munchkinland at the beginning of the movie, they know each other. There is something there where Glinda and the Green Witch, they know each other because of whatever. We don't get any of that information in that movie. In fact, the Good Witch only shows up twice in the entire movie, right?
Yeah, she's at the beginning and she's at the end. So you get my reference now that this is like fan fiction where we're filling in some blanks.
Yeah.
Like in that movie, they interact extremely little. You don't get a whole story. Why is she wicked? You know, and I made a reference in the beginning intro about the East. And I do realize that it is the Wicked Witch of the West, but clearly my cold brain was already taking over.
I guess.
So yeah, these two people, there's nothing there. In that kind of a movie, you don't get backstory. They didn't give you an understanding of their character and their development and why is she wicked.
No, that movie was made 1,000,000 years ago and you don't have time for shit like that. You need the funny people acting funny.
No, and L. Frank Baum didn't write the books about her. All you need to know about the Wicked Witch is she is wicked.
Right, and you make her up to be as stereotypically witchy as you can. And I'm just going to stop right here and say the one thing I didn't say in the intro that I'm going to say right now. This is all fake. All of this is in her fucking mind, in Dorothy's mind. Why are we doing this at all?
Oh, you mean having watched The Wizard of Oz, you believe it to be a dream?
Yes.
How do you know it's a dream? How do you know she didn't really
she
travel to Oz?
She got knocked the fuck out in her house and she wakes up with a huge lump on her face.
Trent, it's a whole story about magic. Hang it up, dude. Calm down.
I know. I just had to say that. But yeah, when you really think about it, how the fuck are they making this thing, this extended universe that introduces the past of all of these fake characters from her dream?
Because people love intellectual property and just expanding on that instead of doing anything original.
No, Betsy, they love a villain origin story.
Yes.
If we've gotten nothing else from Hollywood, it is that. And I know that this is not completely a Hollywood created thing. This is for the stage, and it makes sense because, hey, the original movie was a musical. So it would just make sense that you would put that whimsy on the stage and it translates so well to the screen because we've already had a musical about The Wizard of Oz.
So let's talk about the fact that this is based on the stage musical. So I said in the intro, I've never seen this musical. You also have never seen this musical.
Yep.
And I told you it didn't really connect with me when I just listened to the soundtrack. But I'm going to be real with you, Trent. I was fucking sobbing at the end of this movie in the theater.
Yes, she was.
I did not expect it, but it's what I kind of figured. When you see the whole flow, when you have visuals to connect to the songs and you can get more of the character and the emotion and the context, all of a sudden I'm like, like it literally, like that was not small crying either.
Oh, yes.
When she starts doing Defying Gravity, I was like catching my breath and tears are streaming down my face.
Okay, I was not nearly as bad as Betsy. However, in that same sequence when they're looking right at each other and they say the lyric, I hope you're happy. They know that this is possibly goodbye forever. but they know in their heart of hearts that each of them are good people at their core. That's what got me. It wasn't the song, it wasn't everything else, it was just them looking at each other and saying the words, "I hope you're happy."
But not in well, I hope you're happy, because that's how the song starts, and then they change it to...
It is a longing. Yeah. I know that you're going to go off, and I know that this is probably the end of this part of our life, and subsequently the end of the movie, the end of this part of the movie. But yeah, that was the moment that really got me. I didn't start crying, but I got emotional.
You got a little choked up.
For sure.
Yeah, there was another moment I was getting a little emotional, and it was when she sang "The Wizard and I," when she's like running through the field.
Yeah.
Because Cynthia Erivo, holy shit, can that woman sing?
Yeah.
And she has such a powerful vocal range. Like, it's coming from this really deep core of her when she sings.
And the fact that her and Ariana can match each other's pitch and match each other's just feeling when they're singing together, it's incredible.
Yeah, I totally see how these two have become like unofficially official besties, I guess.
Sure.
Because they have been on these press tours, and that whole thing, when I'm just seeing it out of context again, I'm like, what is this? This is really weird. But when you see the two of them on screen together and how they are singing the same notes and they're emotional together, I'm like, okay, I can see how, like anybody who does musical theater, bonding with their castmates, does this musical for the screen, and they connect in a deeper way. But yes, the two of them together, they're both very, very good in this movie.
Yeah, and
for
I would
different
say,
reasons.
Yeah, and the thing that I've kind of taken from outside of this movie, just people commenting on these two people in general, mainly about Ariana. And the fact that we've seen Ariana on like SNL and just doing things outside of being a singer. She's really funny. She gets the joke of being this prissy pink little princess and knows how to nail that idea of being this little shit.
Yeah, she's kind of a bitch. She's an uppity little, like, spoiled girl.
Yeah.
But also, I believe her when she suddenly is like, what are these feelings I'm feeling? She normally doesn't feel anything, and suddenly she starts going, shit.
I feel terrible.
I did a bad thing, and I feel bad about it.
And even though I have been terrible to her, I have done things intentionally to hurt her feelings. Elphaba has done nothing but be kind to me. She has gone out of my way to help me along in my journey. Maybe she sees something in me where, hey, I'm just fucking around. I'm being the pretty princess, getting with the boy and dancing around and having a party.
And getting everything I want.
Yeah. But she's failing in the thing that she is passionate about. She knows this other professor. She really wants to have special privileges and get with her right away, but she hasn't earned it yet.
And she hasn't shown that she even has the capacity for it.
Yeah.
She just thinks, well, I'm perfect and wonderful and everyone loves me.
And clearly I'm going to be the best at everything because people tell me I'm the best at everything. Well, not yet. You come to this university, Shiz, which is, that's a choice. Wow.
It's like whiz, but with an S.
Oh, God. But she comes to this university and is thinking, I am just going to be the best. But then she figures out, no, I need help. And unfortunately, the story isn't more about them learning their wizardry. This is not Harry Potter.
No, we're not at the magical school of witchcraft and wizardry, even though that is exactly where we are.
Yeah. I wish they would have gone more into that and like their studies and everything, but I know you can't have everything in here. You can't add too much that isn't there already in the musical and whatever else. It's not the point. But despite all of her faults, Elphaba still helps her out, gets her the training wand, and asks that the professor include her in all of her studies, her private lessons from this other person. And of course, that's all outside of what the big scheme is with the professor and the Wizard of Oz and everything like that. That's not the overarching story, but it is this small story between these two that really make this movie.
Yeah, the whole movie is their relationship together and how they go from hating each other to being best friends. And they just keep amping that up. Like, what I know about the musical is they get much more into that in the second half. because I didn't know when they were making this movie and they said, okay, this is part 1 and there's a part 2.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part 1 ended with Defying Gravity. I didn't know that that song was in the first half because it's such a big number. It feels like an ending song. I didn't know it was the end of part 1. I was very surprised by that.
My understanding here is that they are actually going to expand part 2. They're going to put stuff in the second movie that does not exist in the musical. They're going to make part 2 bigger than what you were expecting from the musical.
Well, what you were just touching on, you said, we can't spend that much time on this. It's a movie, whatever. But you look at what we just watched. This is 2 hours and 40 minutes for part 1, and this is only the first half.
Yeah.
A standard musical on Broadway is about 2.5 hours with an intermission. So they've already expanded this world extensively to give us more cinema and more, because I don't know the musical, like I said. I don't know how much of this has been added or if it's just expanding what was already there.
But I will say, I don't think that there's anything here that is wasted. I don't feel like my time was wasted at all.
You literally just said you wanted more. You could have sat through more of this 2 hour, 40-minute movie.
Totally.
And you wouldn't have been upset about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that they have all of these other characters. We have these side stories, like this love story with her sister and this other ginger. We have the prince getting introduced. I have no idea if he is actually in the musical or not.
He is.
I hope he is.
Yep, he's a main character.
And we also get this underlying thing about animals where we are in a magical world where animals can talk. They have jobs. They have a place in society of Oz. But apparently, in the background, they've been shoving them aside and hoping that we can cage them and breed them to not talk anymore.
Yet, Trent, I was thinking, watching this, I went, oh, this is one of those movies where people go, wait, this is about us.
Yeah.
This is about us. That's what's happening here.
We're the villains here.
We're the villains. We're the bad guys. And I'm also suddenly figuring out why this musical means so much to people.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It's about being an outcast and it's about people trying to force you to change because you're different and you're the villain and you're the bad guy.
Yeah. Also, even though you are being oppressed and made fun of and ostracized, all the different words, there are people even worse off than you. And you're choosing. When she goes to Oz and meets with Oz, this entire time you're thinking, she's going to ask to have her skin not be green anymore because clearly that is the source of all of her ills. But no. She decides instead, Great Oz, I want you to help the animals. This is what I've been hearing. This is what I feel like is a grave injustice, and I absolutely want you to help them. I'm doing fine. I don't need your help myself.
Yeah, thematically, there's some moments in here where, the very first time she's introduced, and Galinda says, I'm going to become a sorcerer, and I can help you with that if you want. It's such a presumption that she wants to be different, that she wants to change her skin color from green to a normal, quote-unquote, color.
And there's also this other stuff about, her not really caring what other people think. But no. She feels it so deeply.
She feels everything.
Yeah.
Anybody who is constantly teased or bullied or just,
putting my hand up,
standing out from the crowd for whatever reason. If you are standing out when all you want to do is fit in,
yeah,
it's hard. So yeah, I am totally starting to understand why there are people who love Wicked, because my guess is the musical theater kids in high school were not the most popular kids.
Yeah, and the main kind of scenes here involve the goat professor. I didn't get his name, but it's played by Peter Dinklage, of all people.
I'm so glad that because I knew he was going to be in this movie.
I didn't.
But in a movie about munchkins
oh, yes.
and Peter Dinklage, your brain immediately goes, please don't do that. Please don't. And they didn't.
Yeah.
Thank God. But they still put him...
He's just a great actor, period.
But they still put him in a role where he can tap into that feeling of being different and, always in his life having to fight to get ahead.
Yeah. And I think the main thing here that they're talking about, this is the note that I wrote in my notes here while we were watching the movie. I said, the risk of being unpopular and speaking out against injustice is more important than being liked. Which is to say, you know what, guys? I'm just a fucking goat professor here. I can talk, but I know that there are forces around me trying to shut me up. I don't care. I'm going to continue to come to class every single day, and I want you to as well. And until they drag his ass out of there, he's still there.
And then, of course, Elphaba's standing up saying, are we all just going to sit here and let this happen?
She is risking her newfound popularity with everybody else to say, no, fuck this. We need to stop this, and nobody else does anything.
Yeah, standing up to injustice. What a novel idea.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from here. That's the message that I took out of that. And I know that there's a whole lot more to come in part 2. But really, the thing that I'm trying to think about here, and I know we're going to get a lot more in part 2, is what is the connective tissue? Like, we already saw, especially in this scene here, where the cops drag out the goat and they bring in this example of a lion cub. And they're trying to, I think, breed these animals to be okay with being in a cage. And then they hope that by being in a cage, they're not going to talk anymore.
It's not even breeding them. It's just when they're around, you keep them down and you oppress them.
Yeah, you subjugate them.
It's literally about oppressing them and making their life miserable. And there's a line, something to the effect of, if you make the situation miserable enough, they will just succumb to the misery. And then they'll do what you want.
And presumably, that's the Cowardly Lion.
Well, I don't think that was a lion. I think that was like a leopard or something.
I think that's a lion cub.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Well, they don't call it cowardly. They call him frightened. So you could put two and two
facto.
Yeah, you can put 2 and 2 together here. And especially because, hey, they let the lion cub go into the woods.
You don't know where he went.
Yeah.
He's just off by himself. I mean, it's not that strange a leap that you're making. So I get it, because this is a prequel. We are setting things up that lead into The Wizard of Oz. And speaking of part 2, we do need to take a small break in this episode before our part 2 for a word from our sponsor.
This season, give yourself the gift you've always wanted. It's not a new car, and certainly not diamond jewelry. It's premium podcasts from the industry's leading connoisseurs of conversation. For only $5 a month, you will receive the most privileged access to their entire catalog. Patreon.com/NeverSeenItPod. Only the best for the discerning listener.
I assume that the second part of this movie, being the second half of the musical, this is where you and I and our ignorance of the stage musical is really going to shine, because there's probably some really obvious things that we have totally missed. But I assume that we're going to focus more on the fact that the wizard is the villain. I don't know if you picked up on that, Trent, but the wizard and the actual magical person, Michelle Yeoh in this, they're kind of bad people, and they're all about subjugating the animals and keeping control, and they need Elphaba and her powers because they don't really have the ability to use it themselves.
Well, the MacGuffin here is the book.
The Grimmery?
Yeah, the Grimmery. Like Michelle Yeoh said, oh yeah, I can only read a few different words here.
She's got a
blah,
little
blah, blah.
magic and she can suss it out.
Yeah, and when they went to the show, when they finally get to the Emerald City and they go to the show, they depict the Wizard of Oz reading from the Grimmery, and he says, Omaha, which is where he fucking came from.
I didn't notice that's what he was saying. I didn't know he pulled a Peyton Manning. Was just yelling,
no, we
Omaha.
watched The Wizard of Oz. It's the Omaha State Fair. That's the balloon.
Yes. Oh yeah, there was
where he came from.
Trent, there was a box in that room near the end that said Omaha, Nebraska on it. Yeah, we're just a stone's throw from there. We are familiar with Omaha.
That's what I'm saying, though. That is where he is coming from, and he's just bullshitting because he's a con artist.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
And he found himself here by happenstance. And now they said, okay, you must be the wizard because you came out of the sky.
Yeah, and really, okay, this is my question right now. Sitting here right now, I don't know what part 2 is going to be, and neither do you. Why are they doing this to the animals? What's the end game here? Why is he showing them this diorama of all of Oz and asking them, okay, what color should I paint the brick? I really like that moment, but what's the end game here? Why is he doing all of this stuff?
Why do old white men who know nothing do anything, Trent?
Well, power, obviously.
Power, that's all.
And is he's making this yellow brick road to have more people come to him and ask for whatever? Is it just to, I mean, again, use the word subjugate? Is it just to subjugate everybody out in Oz for them to believe that he is the great and powerful Oz? Even more, when he goes there, he's going to show him his big fucking whatever mask and blow fire everywhere and just make people fear him?
It's all propaganda. It's all a show. And the yellow brick road is a symbol of the gold path that leads to me, and you need somebody to look after. And he even makes the comment somewhere about the fastest way to get people to come together is to give them an enemy to unite behind.
Right, which I want to go back to the beginning of the movie, which is the follow-up to the actual
the end of the
Wizard
movie.
of Oz. I'm trying to keep this straight in my head. But when Glinda comes in her bubble, which I think was a great, great look, when she comes down there to Munchkin Land, spreading the news, giving the official word from the wizard, there's all of this, you said the word, there's all of these like propaganda posters of the witch, and they have like these vats of liquid, which on them it says, water will melt her. And there's these other like photos or mock-ups of what the witch looks like, and fear the witch and whatever the fuck else. They even have the goddamn Burning Man thing that they set on fire.
An effigy.
Yeah. None of this is in the original movie, by the way. But what you're saying here about the propaganda and giving somebody a villain to fear and loathe and whatever else, that's really the end game. I fully believe.
It's also distraction from what they're really doing, which is, talking animals is some kind of magic because animals don't talk. So where I come from, the animals don't talk. Let's get rid of that.
Is that what it is? Hey, where I come from, there's no fucking magic, so I'm going to create fake magic and just be the all-powerful Oz.
That's the presumption anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
These are the questions that are running through my mind right now because I really, really like how they're doling everything out between the main plot of what is this fucking wizard and what are they up to, juxtaposed to the little story between the two witches.
Well, and I kind of had to bring this up. There's kind of a natural segue. I wasn't going to talk about it, but now I want to because we're speculating wildly. So the wizard's her dad, right?
Yeah.
They didn't show his face at the beginning, but I heard Jeff Goldblum sing, and he was a tall, skinny man, and we don't know her parentage. So
they put him in shadow when he's coming in there to shack up with the mom.
Yeah, I don't exactly understand it, except, they were drinking some green liquid. Maybe there's some significance there.
Yeah.
And this is, again, maybe...
And she's got that bottle.
Yeah, maybe they address this in the musical, and everybody who's seen it goes, haha, I know what's going to happen in the second half. You know what, kids? I didn't read the Game of Thrones books. I didn't read The Wizard of Oz. I didn't see Wicked.
Yeah, so,
I don't know what's coming.
I mean, we're sorry if this is actually true or not, but I mean, whatever. We're just speculating here because we're educated people and we can see signs.
Yeah, and then there's the thing like, it's gonna start to rain, and the professor says, we don't want you to get wet, and she holds an umbrella over Elphaba.
Yeah.
And there's those things throughout, like, why does water melt her? I'm sorry, you're a grown-ass woman? You've never taken a bath before? Like, what is this? How do we get from there to there? Those 2 points haven't been connected for me yet.
No, there's no reference to that other than, hey, when it's about to rain, Michelle Yeoh whips out the umbrella and puts it over Elphaba, and she whips the rain away.
Also, did you catch at the very, very beginning of the movie when they're saying, oh yeah, she's dead, and it was a little girl threw a bucket of water on her, and someone was riding away from the castle on a horse.
Yeah.
Somebody was riding away, Trent. Who was that?
Right.
Maybe she's not really dead at all. Like, these are all the things that will make sense when we see part 2 in 400 years when they release it.
Right. Well, that'll be next year. Well, actually, this year, Betsy.
Oh, God, yeah.
Thanksgiving. So some of the other points that I wanted to bring up here is, I mean, I really do want to watch this movie again, but not necessarily just for the story. I mean, I got the story. There's nothing that I really missed there, but it's all of the visual stuff here that looks amazing. Now, unfortunately, the theater where we saw this was, we got into the smaller theater, and surprisingly, this movie's been out for a month and a half now. That little theater was like halfway full, and that's impressive for our town.
For our little town, when there's so many other movies showing, yeah.
But yeah, like all of it. There's so much to look at here. And the one scene that I wanted to point out was when they go to Emerald City. And this scene, when they're doing the big show, is the most fucking Broadway I think I've seen in any movie whatsoever. Even the stuff that is based on Broadway.
That felt very Broadway in that moment. Yes, the dancing and the costumes and Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel.
Of course.
You can't make Wicked without those two. Like, the Ariana and Cynthia Erivo both said, we're not doing this movie without them.
Yeah.
Like, find a place. Figure it the fuck out.
Honestly, that whole thing reminded me of Thor Ragnarok when Matt Damon and the other Hemsworth is there.
It's more propaganda.
Yes.
It's the city players telling the great and wonderful story of the great and powerful Oz. And it's very big and it's very theatrical. And everybody goes, ooh, shiny. And they distract themselves for long enough from their problems.
And when they
to
introduce the show, it is the 100% truthful truth. You cannot question this whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's absolutely silly and ridiculous, but it's sending a message to the Oz citizens.
Yeah, and because it is so big and whatever, the citizenry just accepts it, because why wouldn't it? It's so much easier to believe the big bombast rather than what it actually is was, hey, he's an asshole.
This idiot fell out of the sky and we made him our king, basically.
Right.
That's the short version of how the wizard became the wizard.
Yeah, and you have seen, I asked you about this off air, you've seen that James Franco...
Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah, you've seen that.
I've seen it once.
And do you know if there's any kind of connective tissue, or is that one just completely off the beaten path? Nothing to do with the original or the follow-up or whatever.
It's a different kind of prequel with their own version of how the Wicked Witch became the Wicked Witch.
Okay, fine. You've also seen Return to Oz, and I don't know if we're ever going to watch that, but
someday
it's a possibility.
Trent, I'm going to find a reason to watch Return to Oz with you, because it is
maybe
a fucking
before part
nightmare.
2 at the end of, maybe we're going to do it for Never Scream It.
Maybe. Okay, well, since you brought that up, there was something about this that in this same sequence, like there's those dudes with the stripy pants that were like dancing in the
with
fountain,
no arms.
with their arms were tucked in. That and like a couple of other things made me think of Return to Oz, because there is this very specific aesthetic to the books, to the different interpretations of the Wizard of Oz of the past, that they are kind of drawing into this. And it's also kind of steampunk. Like, I had that thought.
Yeah.
The wizard is steampunk, which is not a phrase I ever would have thought I would utter.
I mean, think about the original movie of him behind the curtain and all these different levers and whatever else that he's pulling. This is all he knows.
You're making it out of the supplies available to you, which is steam energy. So, the Wizard of Oz is kind of steampunk. Go figure. But yeah, there's this thing about Return to Oz that is aesthetically the same, where it's that sort of turn of the century, but it's the future, but it's magical, and
it's big and colorful and just whimsical for the sake of being whimsical, but there's no substance there.
But they clearly thought about this, and we haven't talked yet about Oscars. We'll do that at the end, but I do think there's an argument to be made, at least for the production and the costumes, because
100%.
You were saying, oh, this is like the most Broadway feeling thing. But they also did it for real. So many of the things in this movie could have been done on a green screen. But
Yeah.
instead, they're like, why don't we plant 10,000 tulips? So that shot of the Munchkins running in the fields at the beginning down the rows, that's fucking real. Like, I don't know how far it expands. Like, I don't know how expansive the fields of tulips are.
Yeah.
But they really planted thousands upon thousands of flowers. They really built a train out in the middle of this grassy field. They really built the interior of that place that Oz is in the big green building.
Yeah, and when they're doing the big Broadway number that I mentioned, all of these people in costumes are just dancing in front of the camera and just having their big Broadway smiles and everything like that to camera, and the camera is just flowing through everything in a really smooth way, and it's something out of like old Hollywood that they don't do anymore.
It's very old Hollywood. So there's nods to the original musical. There's nods to the 1939 Wizard of Oz, the MGM musical.
Yeah.
There's definitely some intention behind everything in this movie, including, and not limited to, the title card of the movie being in the original font of
Yeah.
the Wizard of Oz. Did you catch that?
I did. I unfortunately have seen many photos taken from a theater with that in there.
Stop it, people. Put your fucking phone away.
Put your fucking phone away and enjoy the shit.
But yeah, there's little nods and things to previous versions of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and don't think when the camera is going up this, I think it's a waterfall at the very beginning of the movie, don't think I didn't notice that the camera went above the rainbow that was there.
Oh, the rainbow. Oh, it went
the
over
rainbow.
And then there's like a little musical cue.
Yeah.
You looked at me, I looked at you. We
Like,
both
come on,
We both
man.
clocked the little musical cue of somewhere over the rainbow. There, I'm sure, tons of Easter eggs.
Yeah, and we
throughout
have
the whole
not
movie.
we have not read any of the IMDb trivia. We sat down here immediately after seeing the movie, and yeah, I'm desperately wanting to read a lot of that stuff because the behind the scenes stuff and all of the little details and stuff that I'm gonna watch eventually when it comes to video. I want to see it. I want to learn about it because the production design part of making movies is just what fascinates me the most.
The one thing I do know about behind the scenes is about the dancing through life sequence where Fiero's singing and they're in the library and there's that spinning set piece.
That was amazing.
Literally, they had to coordinate it in such a way to be really careful because if you got caught between two of those things, you could be decapitated.
Yeah.
Like, this is the real shit. It's very dangerous. And they had to practice it a lot to get it right.
That library stuff looks amazing. I'm so glad that they did that for real, even though it's very dangerous. And I get that at the very least, you could lose a finger or an arm or a limb or something.
Yeah, they had to coordinate very carefully. And speaking of for real, this is a movie where they did the singing live. They did this on set.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing real singing while the cameras were rolling.
That's cool.
So let's talk about the songs because obviously
It's
is a
a musical.
I actually knew most of the songs in this. Like through whatever means. Obviously, you knew popular.
Of
like
course.
you leaned over and you're like, "It's the song, right?" We're gonna
Because
do the
they
song."
teased it. They teased it for a really long time. And it's like, okay, she's going to be doing something for her. She's trying to set her up. Oh, God, this is the popular song, isn't it? That was kind of what was in my mind. But, I liked how they were playful with it. I liked that it wasn't so fucking saccharine. And I don't like I talked about this. I don't like the bubblegum pop kind of shit that Kristen Chenoweth and Ariana Grande, for that matter, would be doing, but they did it in a way that wasn't annoying.
I also like that they were amping up elements of the movie where they were adding like little sound effects, like when she puts her foot out and you hear like a whoo,
Yeah,
whoo, like
yeah.
funny little sound effects throughout the movie. They did that a lot just to amp it up a little bit, to make it like, this is supposed to be silly, so let's really make it silly.
Yeah.
And then we knew Defying Gravity, because, that's a huge musical number from this show that's really, really hard to not know exists.
That was maybe the one that I maybe knew. Honestly, I think that one I've only heard through the grapevine of people posting shit on the internet.
Yeah, it's been very, very difficult to avoid Defying Gravity.
Yeah, but again, they do it in a way that it's broken up. It's not just one continuous song,
No,
which I appreciate in this movie.
A little bit, and then there's some dialogue, and then a little bit, and then a pause, and then the big moment, which is why I think it worked and I burst into tears, because I had just enough like anticipation that I'm just like,
they executed it completely perfectly. And that's why I also got a little bit emotional in that, because it was built up so much. But as far as the rest of the songs are concerned, I don't think I've heard any of them.
I think I knew Loathing when the two of them were just like, I hate this person.
Yeah, I liked the song. I really did. I like how they were doing the dynamic stuff of one person sings and the other person sings and then they sing together.
The split screen.
The split screen was really great. And of course, it is all surrounding this weird odd couple thing where they're roommates and they don't want to be roommates. And one is the pink prissy princess, like I said, and the other one is like the goth chick.
And they're passive aggressively like fighting with each other.
Yeah. So I did like that song, but you're going to have to help me out with the rest of them because I don't remember any of them.
So, there was The Wizard and I knew that one where she was saying, you know,
that was good.
Someday, it's her I have a dream, I have a wish song, her big moment. There was Dancing Through Life, which is what Fierro sang in the library.
Which is basically a song about being lazy and just being whatever.
I'm here to corrupt my fellow students and, you know, just fuck around in life and not take things seriously.
Yeah, inviting them to go to Ozfest. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm taking away from this.
Yeah,
Ozfest.
Ozfest. Yeah. The Wizard of Oz is a different one in your head.
Yes.
I think that I didn't know Dancing Through Life before this movie came out, and I started seeing clips and things like that.
Yeah.
Everything else from the first half, I pretty much didn't know. I didn't know the song that the wizard sings. I didn't even know Michelle Yeoh was going to sing in this movie.
Yeah, she kind of sings. Much like Jeff Goldblum kind of sings.
They're like speak singing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I didn't know the one that they were like, we deserve each other. There was kind of an extension. I don't know if it was the same song where it was like
they did that a
Loathing
lot.
/ something else. And then, of course, the opening song is like No One Mourns the Wicked. Let me tell you, Ariana Grande, I knew could sing high, but Jesus Christ, can she sing high? Like, she went for that fucking money note way at the end of that very first song. And I'm just like, okay, I see, I get it. But I'm not used to hearing her use that. Like, I've heard her do like the little whistle notes and things in her pop music, but it's so breathy and, you know, pop music. And then in this, she's doing very like operatic. She's trying to keep, you know, toe to toe with Kristen Chenoweth, who is a classically trained singer. Yeah. And she did it. And that was really surprising to me. Again, I kind of knew it because people have been saying that, but Jesus, there's some high songs in this movie.
Yeah, and I said it before, just the fact that both of these gals can keep pace with each other and they complement each other in these songs. So they had to find the right people, and I think they nailed it.
But they're very different vocalists.
They are.
They're extremely different. Like I said, Cynthia Erivo is like a powerhouse kind of a singer.
She a belter.
And that was why I was getting so emotional listening to her, because it's just like you feel it when she sings music.
Yeah.
You feel everything.
And you've gone through this entire arc with, hey, I'm gonna try to be the popular person, to bring that phrase back. I'm gonna try to win over everybody around me, but when nobody comes along with me, I can't quite get them over to my side. Well, then fuck them. I don't need them. I don't need to be popular. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do for my own sake and for the sake of the people that I care about.
Speaking of that, when she was at the party and she's wearing the hat and everybody's laughing at her and she starts crying, yeah, that was the other part I was getting really emotional.
Totally.
Like there's just enough to drag me along in this movie and keep pulling me towards that emotional feeling that I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand why this connects with so many people. And it's starting to connect with me. I think I would have to see the second half to really conclude how I feel about this.
I have high hopes, though.
Yes, for coming in the way we did, I feel like, okay, the foundations have been set and now I'm invested.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I'm just going to show my ass here because I did not want to see Wicked, okay? I knew that it was going to be a part 1 for one thing, and I don't want to fucking have to wait another year like I did with Dune part 2, but that was like 2 years. And I'm not a person who is going to go out of my way to go and see a musical, especially a big poppy musical like this is. But because I do have reverence for The Wizard of Oz and what that represents, not only in cinema, but just storytelling, these characters needed to have more. And unfortunately, back when they made that movie, they weren't about sequelization of every property under the sun. So it took the creators here of the Broadway musical, it took them to take this thing. And I have no idea if this is based on anything else.
It's on a book. Yeah.
It is based on.
There was a book in the 90s.
Okay, that I did not know. But still, whoever the creators were, they recognized that there's more here for these characters. And I know I'm contradicting myself because I said this is all fake anyway. It's Dorothy's dream and whatever else. Okay, fuck me. I really enjoyed myself here, and I am very much hopeful for the sequel.
Well, Trent, do you have other thoughts you want to share? Anything about this movie before we talk about the reason we're watching Wicked?
I liked when they're having their little animal meeting with the goats and everybody else. Quote, I heard from a dear friend of mine. A deer? Oh, it was a cow, actually. That really made me cackle.
There's some good jokes in this.
Yeah, I like how they're calling it sorcery studies. As in social studies, not sorcery studies. It's a great joke. That's a great joke. The fact that, okay, she's kind of being a shit in the classroom when the goat can't pronounce her name, and then as a tribute, she changes her name to what it became later.
I'm so glad there's an explanation because it has bothered me for years why she's credited as Galinda in Wicked. It's been bothering me, and I'm glad to have conclusive reasoning for it now.
Right. We haven't talked a whole lot about how everything looks, but there's one particular shot of Michelle Yeoh after the monkeys. We haven't mentioned the monkeys yet, where the monkeys all get transformed and she is walking towards camera and all of the monkeys are just going crazy in the background. That looks amazing.
She's like slow-mo walking to camera and there's chaos behind her.
I love that.
Yeah, the transformation of the monkeys into the flying monkeys
is scary.
That was seriously scary because, of course, you feel empathy for the animals throughout this movie. They've already been priming you to feel that way.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't even know what she's doing by uttering this spell. And you think it's just one monkey, but she's like, it's hurting him, it's hurting him. And then you hear screeching and screaming from in the hallway because it's affecting all of the monkeys.
Like the entire fucking species, maybe. I don't even know.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was really upsetting.
And like to see this from a child's perspective, think about that. When we were exiting, this is kind of an aside here, but when we were exiting the theater, I overheard some young people talking. I'm 40 now, so I can say young people. But they said, I thought there was somebody gonna die, and this is paraphrasing. I thought there was gonna be somebody that died. She died at the beginning of the movie because they showed her hat as she had water thrown on her and she was melted. Why didn't anybody die? Are these young people unaware that the beginning of the movie is the follow-up to the original Wizard of Oz? Do they not know Wizard of Oz?
And that this is part 1 of 2?
Right.
Like,
fuck.
It's astonishing to me the people that just like walk into a movie and have absolutely no context for what they're watching other than, I don't know, wizards.
I'm shaking my finger at their parents for not showing them the Wizard of Oz, for fuck's sake.
Or explaining to them that this was just part 1.
That too.
Yeah, or maybe they didn't know. It's like,
I don't think that is going to be addressed in part 2.
It was like a couple years ago when people were taking their kids to Barbie and they thought, this is like a fun kids movie. It's like, sweetie, this is a movie about feminism and existential ennui. A lot of things that an 8-year-old is not going to understand. It's not a Barbie princess movie like they're used to with the animated ones.
Yeah.
Same thing. This is a movie about, subjugation and control and making people who are different out to be the villains.
You need to think a little bit more about the media you are consuming, guys.
Yeah, like they say at the beginning, are you born wicked or is wickedness thrust upon you? That's the kind of movie this is.
Which I love when Michelle Yeoh was making the announcement saying this person is evil. Her green skin is an outward projection of her blah, blah, blah wickedness.
Yeah.
She is the wicked witch.
You don't.
And I called it. I put my finger up and said, I knew this is what she's going to say. And she said it.
Yeah. Don't believe her lies. You have to believe what I'm saying because we're the ones who are in power.
We're the ones in power.
Propaganda.
Yeah. But no, that was all I had to say. Did you have anything else, Betsy?
Just a couple of things. So first, what did you think of all the made up words in this movie?
I unfortunately didn't write any of them down.
I wrote down a few. I wrote horrendable,
yeah,
scandalocious, hidiosis, gratitution, pessimistical, pronouncifying.
and
it's
so
like
on and so on.
a lot of them.
Yeah, and I appreciated that because, hey, this is a weird magical world and language doesn't have to be the same everywhere. And that's kind of the end of it. I mean, I liked it.
All right, and then I will leave you with a fun little tidbit that you probably wouldn't pick up on.
Okay.
Elphaba is L. Frank Baum. Elphaba.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
I figured you would never in a million years notice that, but it is a
No.
weird little thing in plain sight.
All right, then.
So there you go, a nod to the original writer and creator of The Wizard of Oz.
Fantastic.
That's where the name Elphaba comes from. But as we have been saying, we are covering all of these movies for the last few weeks because we're trying to get ahead of the forthcoming Academy Awards for this year. And we won't find out for another couple of weeks if this movie is actually nominated, but we can speculate wildly like the rest of them.
Yeah, and now that I've seen it, I am totally getting why this movie is getting buzzed for Oscar stuff. Because, hey, I think it is absolutely deserving of a Best Picture nominee just because, wow, this is a spectacle more than anything else that I've seen this year.
Do you think our two leads are going to make the cut for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress?
It's really hard for me to say because I haven't seen basically anything else here.
You can't compare.
I can't compare to anybody, but I think that their performances definitely rise to the level of a nomination.
They're certainly worthy. They didn't do an original song in this one. I'll bet they saved that for the end credits of the second one.
Okay, all right.
There's talk of director and possibly cinematography. There's a lot of people who are upset about cinematography because they hate the backlighting in this movie.
I mean, it's just whatever natural kind of lighting that you have here.
It's all
and
very natural light.
None of it bothered me. So whatever, guys.
There were only a few moments where I was like, this is like a lot. Most of the movie, it didn't bother me, but there were a few where it was so extreme where I'm like, okay, I can see why there are certain people that this would bother. I already kind of touched on it, potentially costuming, because there's a lot of them and they're all really interesting.
If nothing else, not necessarily for the main actors, but for all of the background people in that Broadway number that I keep on mentioning, all of that. And I didn't really recognize anything that they took from the original movie or anything like that. It seems like they're all original. So yeah, I would say that is a shoo-in.
There's inspiration, but it's not a direct, ripping it off.
Totally.
And then production design, because you can't just build the Emerald City and then be ignored for it. It's like Barbie last year, where they didn't have to, but they did.
Yeah.
And it makes it that much better because of it. So we'll see. It potentially could get lots of nominations. We got to wait another couple of weeks to see what the final count actually is. It being a part one is always kind of a crapshoot whether it's going to win anything, because that does have weight for when part two comes out.
Yeah, it is unfair to hold back any kind of accolades for part two to make sure, okay, well, it was really, really good, but we're going to hold our accolades for later on when you finish everything.
The sum of its parts.
Really, all you're really doing here is delaying the rest of the story, because it's going to have the same kind of whimsy and look and whatever else. It's going to have the same kind of thing because it's made by the same people. So if you're going to award it, do it now, because you don't know what's coming next year.
You cannot predict the field in play here. So just, if you feel strongly about Wicked, vote for Wicked.
Yeah, if you like how it looked, give it production design. If you like the costumes, give it that.
It's not like the Star Wars trilogy where it was like different directors in the most recent trilogy, where it's
Sure.
like, you know, that guy has a vision of it, but then there's a different director and they have a different vision. But just
Yeah.
kidding, let's go back to the first guy. It's just one director, his vision. This is his interpretation for Wicked.
Yeah, I don't really think that this is going to have any kind of accolades for screenplay because there's not really a lot of challenging things in the actual text itself. And I'm sure they didn't have to do a lot to adapt it to the screen.
Yeah, again, this shows my ignorance of the stage musical because I don't know how much they have edited, added,
Added,
elaborated.
changed, removed, who knows? I'm sure you can do a lot more on screen than you can do on a stage, but I feel like they did feel restricted to try to match the musical as much as they could.
There is an expectation when adapting a well-known and well-beloved musical for a movie. You have to do it with a very deft touch.
Well, you're also continuing it on as being a musical. You don't have to make this a musical.
Yeah, considering the advertising ignored the musical element, as
Right.
is the tradition in these modern times we live in.
True.
Which is so fucking stupid. It's Wicked. Everybody
Yeah.
knows what Wicked is.
Yeah.
Just tell people it's a musical. It's fine.
You would have had to change the name of it if you were not going to have the musical portion
if you
of it.
just adapted the book directly.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it could be interesting, but yeah, if you're gonna do the musical, tell people it's the musical.
Just do it. And you might
Don't
even
be a pussy.
You
Like,
might
just
get
say
more
it.
people coming in, yeah. But anyway, I think that's about all I got for Oscar conversation, Betsy.
All right, well, I think that's gonna do it for Wicked
Part
for
one.
now. Part one, formerly part one. Maybe. I don't really know how they're handling that because it was literally in the title. It said Wicked Part 1.
But then the part one came in later.
And
Like
yeah.
a second later.
And now the second one is not called Part 2. It's
Nope.
called For Good, which will make sense to you, who knows nothing about this musical,
Of course.
when it comes out.
Of course.
But we would love to hear from you because we are late to the Wicked party, and I know many of you have already seen this movie, or maybe you've already seen the stage musical. Maybe you've seen both and can compare and tell us what we're missing. Don't spoil the second half. We have to spend the next 11 months of our lives avoiding spoilers for part 2. And
We already had to avoid spoilers for this fucking
I
movie.
am not planning on seeing the stage musical in that amount of time because I
No.
don't know where it is or when it is there or if I'll be able to do that. We are planning on maybe going to New York, so I guess we could. However, that's not really a guarantee. But tell us, what did you think of this movie? Did they do the stage musical justice? Is it going to win all of the Academy Awards?
Are you also one of these musical theater geeks who are just crying in the aisles?
Tell me.
Yeah, tell us.
Trent. Tell us both. Email us your thoughts, neverseenapod@gmail.com. We do have a couple of emails from our superfan Stephanie from some movies and things we talked about at the end of 2024. First up, she sent us an email about Blade Runner, one of the movies that Trent really enjoyed and did remember to mention in our year-end awards. So if you haven't listened to that already, go back and see what he had to say, or just go listen to the Blade Runner episode. Stephanie begins, "To be honest, although I like Blade Runner, I do not love it. The world is interesting, but it is a little slow at times, and I do not think it is the best sci-fi ever.
That's fair.
I have seen the theatrical and director's cut. Honestly, I don't remember the difference. So she must have had access to the theatrical cut if she was able to see it, because it's kind of been buried. I've been talking to people since this episode came out, and you
Yeah.
kind of can't get it anymore.
She might have had access to like an original VHS from back in the day.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, local library or the local video store had a copy. She continues, I do love a good noir, and this hits many of those elements well. However, I don't think Rachel is very compelling. I find it odd that there are so few women in this world. Not that I need women in my movies. I mean, I like many war movies, but I feel like if you're gonna throw a love story in the mix, maybe make the love interest interesting.
Yeah.
The most interesting part about her is that she is a replicant that doesn't know it, which is just sad. I'm very excited for Sci-Fi Sequel Sundays. See, she's on board with this concept.
Yeah.
We watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire the other night. It was super fun. My daughter liked it. Love you guys from Superfan Stephanie.
Yeah, I think that's what those movies have become. And not like Ghostbusters really was for anybody other than kids, even back in the 80s. You know, there's some elements in those movies that are not appropriate for, little kids these days. But, I know people around our own age that think that Ghostbusters, even when they were kids, were like the best fucking thing ever.
The way I realized as an adult watching Ghostbusters that the version I had as a kid was the edited for TV thing that they taped off TV. Because I'm like, this wasn't in this movie when I was growing up.
Yeah.
She also sent us a quick message about our Never Seen It Awards episode.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, I'm so excited that you guys loved Train to Busan and The Omen so much.
Oh, yeah, we did.
They are two of my favorite horror films, and I cannot wait to hear more about your new Patreon Horror 101 show. You guys are awesome. Love Superfan Stephanie.
Hell yeah, we are.
Yes, that is a natural segue to what we talked about in our Patreon update that came out a few days ago. We're not making a whole lot of changes to Patreon for the year, but there is one big one, and that is we have introduced a new show that's going to be starting this month called Never Scream It 101, where we are going to be visiting the foundational horror movies and try to get an understanding for ourselves of what this genre is, how it came to be, why people love it so much, and how these movies influence the movies that we get today.
And Betsy, so far we haven't announced what we're doing for our first entry in the Never Scream It 101 pantheon.
Maybe I don't want to.
Maybe I want to.
Okay, fine.
Episode 1 of Never Scream It 101 is going to be a genre that I don't think I have ever seen anything from.
At least horror or just full stop?
In general. We're going to be covering the found footage subgenre of horror by covering The Blair Witch Project.
Which is a movie neither of us has ever watched.
That's right. So join us over on Patreon. It is patreon.com/neverseenitpod. All of the other content from last year is still available. You sign up for $5 a month. You get access to all of last year's stuff, including everything that we're doing for January and beyond.
And we keep saying it, kids. We're having a lot of fun over there. So we hope that you will join us. That address again, patreon.com/neverseenitpod. You can also follow us on any of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we're still going to call it Twitter, and recently Blue Sky. So if you want to reach out to us about any of the movies that we are covering, or maybe a movie you'd like us to cover, because with this new show, I know there's a lot of people out there who love horror and have some recommendations for people who don't know a damn thing about horror but are trying to learn.
Yeah, and I feel like we're also going to be reaching out to people to ask, hey, so there's all these subgenres out there. We know what those are, but maybe we want some opinions from you freaks out there who like this shit.
Yeah, tell us where to begin, because that's the whole point of this is we don't know.
So stay tuned to all of our social media stuff. We're going to be putting out some feelers here to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing here to get ourselves a good education.
So you can send us your thoughts there, or once again, email us neverseenitpod@gmail.com. You know, it's a new year. We would love for you to go and write us a review. Give us 5 stars. Tell your friends about us. You know, just spread the love in the new year. Spread the love in 2025.
I did Wicked for you fuckers,
yeah.
So hey.
Look at Trent opening his mind and heart to things he doesn't think he'll love.
Yes.
But the love continues on next week with another brand new episode of Never Seen It, where we're going to be covering yet another movie that we think is going to get nominated. Maybe.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about it in the Oscar conversation, certainly. And that is going to be A Real Pain.
A Jesse Eisenberg original.
Yeah, so we're going to explore what's lurking in his brain as a screenwriter, as a director, as a creator, because we haven't seen that from him yet.
Not yet.
But that's all going to be in the conversation we have next week. Until then, we thank you as always for listening. My name is Betsy.
My name is Trent.
And we'll see you then.